All right, Rose, it's so good to see you, love. Start with a gratitude. Thanks for going first, and then ask your question.
Hi. Really, I know this sounds silly, but just so grateful for you doing this. Like, this is amazing, to have the opportunity to connect with you again. So thank you.
Yay. Of course.
Okay, my question is about messaging. I still struggle to get in front of my ideal client. I tend to get in front of a lot of other coaches. I feel like if I could break down a lot of my followers, they would be a lot of other coaches in the same niche or similar niche. So yeah, that's really it. I feel like it's an uphill battle.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, welcome to the club. You're definitely not alone. So curious here if anyone else feels this way ever. And you could say me, if your screen's not on, you can raise your hand. Okay, cool. There's two things that I want to get into. Number one is messaging is not a destination. So a lot of times in our businesses, we get to a place where we do, okay, great. I set up my business bank account. Check. Got it. I made my LLC. Check. Got it. I figured out my niche. Check. Got it. And we kind of move through areas of our business in this like check it off the to-do list. And then we get to messaging and we somehow, for some reason, can never check it off. And it becomes really frustrating. So the first thing that I want everyone to realize is that messaging is not a destination. It's not somewhere you're going to go. It's not something you're going to check off your to-do list. It is an ever evolving part of your business that will continuously be changing and evolving as you do, as your business does, as the client needs to. So that said, if we can all restructure our relationship to messaging, because it usually is a pain point for most of us, and we can approach it in a way that's really exciting and fun, that just energetically is going to feel much better for all of us. Okay, so that's over here. Now, the idea that you have a lot of similar coaches, like competitors following you, that also does happen. Sometimes it becomes a little bit of an echo chamber. So I would say a few things. Number one, make sure you yourself are not following a ton of other coaches in your industry. One, for your mental health, because a lot of times it just causes us to compare. We see something they post, we're like, oh man, no, I can't say that. I don't want to look like I'm copying, or wow, they disagree with what I say. That's so weird. Now I'm uncertain and I'm just not going to post anything. So just for our mental health alone, I would say unfollow or mute them, but also the way that the algorithms do work, it's what and who you interact with that it will show you more of, and vice versa. So you almost accidentally kind of create your own echo chamber by being a follower of and connected to lots of other coaches in your industry. And in the same breath, I wonder how the position of your messaging is right now that you are attracting so many other coaches. Here's the thing. If you're really good at messaging, you're actually going to attract a lot of other coaches that are in your niche because they're looking to you for guidance. So this could mean you're actually nailing it, but also at the same time, if you're not seeing the clients coming in, there is a gap there. So I'm going to do a quick lesson, and I don't have a whiteboard and it's making my armpits sweat because I usually like to draw things out, but y'all can draw it out for yourself. So there's 3 levels of messaging. The first level is going to be what your client knows. And I'll give you an example. And I've used this before. I apologize if you heard me. So what your client already knows, I'm going to go with gut health, is that when I eat, I get bloated. I'm going to use my business, which is a lot of coaches and stuff. When I post, nobody engages. So they already know this, right? When I eat, I get bloated. Now, when you can do, that's like pain point marketing generally, because it's the thing they're struggling with. The second level is going to be more of the pleasure or solution-based marketing, which is what they don't know. So when I eat, I get bloated, but I don't know what it is. I'm not sure. Should I try an elimination diet? Which one should I do? Is it this food? Is it that food? Is it because I'm eating too early or too late? Every time I post, I don't get clients. I'm not really sure why. Is it my messaging? Is it my niche? Do I not have a good I help statement? We call them superpower statements. Is it because my pictures are not professional? Okay, so there's what they know, what they don't know. And then the third level, which is really, really hard to do, so give yourself grace, is what they don't know, they don't know. And so what they don't know is that every time I eat, I get bloated, but I don't know what it is. And then you come in and say, it actually might not be food. You might have mold toxicity in your home. And they're like, what? Wait a minute. I didn't even know that could be something. right? And we can do this the better we know our client. We can do this when we better know our own area of expertise. When you start to create content and messaging from that high level of 3 layers deep, what they don't know, you really become a thought leader. You become the person that they're like, that you just blew my mind. But if you only ever talk about every time you eat, you get bloated, sure, some people will resonate, but it's like, yeah, I know. That's why I'm looking for someone's page. And so there's a chance, and I'm not saying you are, but you collective, there's a chance that you collective may be living in the what they know, what they don't know. And at a point, they're not moving because like they already know they're getting bloated. They already know their sex life isn't there. They like, it's not giving me the value that I want. You're validating how I feel, but I'm not feeling like there's an opportunity for a solution. Does that make sense? Okay, so with messaging, we've got what they know, what they don't know, what they don't know, they don't know. I would also say, because I've seen your content recently, you've turned it up a notch. You're definitely posting a lot more. I see that. Give yourself grace in the experimental phase. Give yourself grace in the testing. That's all we do in business is we're constantly testing. The biggest companies in the world do this. They spend millions of dollars on market research. I mean, we all remember, most of us remember, I'd say back in the 80s or 90s, most of us remember when Pepsi or Coke came out with clear. Remember they had like clear Coke or clear Pepsi? Like, terrible idea. I don't know why they did that. What did they do though? They spent millions and millions of dollars testing it. They put it out, they did marketing and advertising, and they spent the money on the product, and it flopped. I don't think it's still around, but they didn't stop because it flopped. They were just like, okay, that was a bad idea. Back to the drawing table. It's the same thing with messaging. It's the same thing, anything you're doing in your business with content. It's like, okay, cool. We're just going to test this, put it out. Didn't really bite. But quitting, I'm not saying you are, quitting, leaving, pivoting is not the answer. And the last thing I'll say is oftentimes people, when they get stuck, they think they need to pivot. When they think that it's not working, and if you're not watching, I'm using quotes, when it's not working, they pivot. And I deeply believe that is the worst time to make a pivot. I don't think you deserve to pivot at that part in time. And I don't mean deserve as in your worthiness, but why would you pivot when you haven't figured out what's working or not working? So instead of pivoting and jumping ship and changing what you're doing completely, stick with what you're doing, test it again, try something new, make tiny tweaks and iterations, get it to a place where it is working and giving you the result you desire. And then once you have the framework, once you know this thing works, yeah, then you could go pirouette and plug it into a new industry, a new niche, a new offer, a new business. But the mistake most of us make is feeling like it's not working, and then we just change. And that happens in messaging too often. So don't zigzag back and forth fast. Turn slowly with your messaging. Turn slowly. It's tiny tweaks and iterations. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
You did. And I do feel like I'm making tweaks. It's more like, I feel like, and I don't want to blame the algorithm, but I promise I won't do that. But it's just like, I feel like I'm not getting in front of the right people. And maybe it takes time.
Yeah. And also there is a passive and a reactive way that we can work in our business, or I should say a passive and an active way, not reactive, passive and active. So we can't just be passive and expect things to come to us. This is where I struggle sometimes with the idea of like, just, manifesting and calling in I love manifesting, but you can't just sit back and kumbaya your way. And so if you're just posting, while that is an activity and you are putting a lot of thought into it, is it enough for where you are in your business? And we're going to have different seasons in our businesses, and we're all going to be in different places in our business. So the answer for you listening might be like, yeah, that actually is enough. And also it might not be for where you're at right now. So maybe it's actually reaching out to people and having conversations. Maybe it's getting on more calls and doing market research. Maybe it's offering free coaching calls where you're actually getting a lot of data. Like, this is very valuable for me when I speak to all of you. This is mutually beneficial. I'm learning right now where you're at and what you need. So maybe it's doing a little bit more active listening and active activity, not just passively posting and saying, well, they're not finding me. Mm-hmm. So, and this can be anything, right? It's connecting, it's doing collaborations, it's doing IG lives, it's offering free coaching, it's doing collaborative lives because you're cross-pollinating your audience and someone else is giving you the third-party stamp of approval saying, yeah, this person is an expert. Rose is great at what she does. So there's a lot of things that we can be doing a little bit more actively rather than putting all of our eggs in the content basket. And I'm not saying you're doing that, but we tend to, a lot of us do that. We're like, post, my day is done, you know, and like, but it's not, it's like, what else can we do? And back in the day, it was go in the Facebook groups and do your market research and cold DM people. And you don't have to do those things, but what can we do? Can you get yourself on podcasts and borrow other people's audiences? And how does that happen? It doesn't happen by you just wishing. It happens by you actively reaching out to people and pitching yourself to people, right? So I think that there's a lot of things that we can be doing to position ourselves in our business in a place where we really start to become the authority, because the more that people see us as the authority with other people's audiences as well, the more the snowball happens. You know, whose programs can you guest coach in? I mean, there's so many opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
it's all about eyeballs. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.